The Ford F-150 is the best-selling vehicle in America. Not the best-selling truck, the best-selling vehicle, period. More Americans trust the F-150 with their livelihood, their family, and their money than any other machine on wheels. And Ford is about to betray every single one of them. I've been a Ford specialist mechanic for 22 years. I love Ford trucks. I grew up around Ford trucks. I have a Ford logo tattooed on my arm that I got when I was 23, and stupid enough to think brand loyalty was forever. And I am telling you, as someone who has opened more EcoBoost engines than I can count, there are 11 problems hiding inside the F-150 EcoBoost right now that Ford knows about, that Ford has studied, and that Ford has decided are acceptable because the warranty expires before most of them surface. This is not a hit piece. I am telling you what is inside your truck so you can protect yourself before the bills arrive, because they are coming. And if you do not know what I am about to tell you, they will arrive on the worst possible day. The day after your warranty expires, when your truck has 102,000 miles on it and Ford's responsibility officially ends. Subscribe, because this is the video Ford's legal department wishes did not exist, and it is the video that could save you $20,000. Problem 1. Carbon buildup on intake valves. This is the problem that defines the EcoBoost. Direct injection means fuel is sprayed directly into the combustion chamber instead of over the intake valves. In a port-injected engine, the fuel washes the valves clean. In the EcoBoost, nothing cleans the valves, ever. Oil vapor from the PCV system coats the intake valves. Carbon bakes onto them. By 60,000 miles, the deposits are measurable. By 100,000, they restrict airflow enough to cause misfires, rough, idle, and reduced power. Ford knows this happens. Ford engineered the system knowing this would happen. Ford's solution is to let you discover it yourself after the warranty expires. Walnut blast cleaning, between $800 and $1,400. Required every 40 to 50,000 miles. Not mentioned anywhere in the maintenance schedule. A colleague with 28 years in Fort Worth told me he performs between 6 and 10 EcoBoost walnut blasts per week. It is the most reliable revenue stream I have. Ford engineered my retirement plan. Problem 2. Turbo failures. The 2.7 EcoBoost has 2 turbos. The 3.5 has 2 turbos, 2 components spinning at over 150,000 revolutions per minute that can fail independently. The wastegate actuators wear. The seals degrade. Oil leaks into the compressor housing. Boost drops. Turbo replacement on the 2.7, between $2,800 and $4,500 per turbo. On the 3.5, between $3,000 and $5,000. Both turbos typically need attention at the same mileage because they have lived the same life. Budget for both, and you're looking at $6,000 to $10,000 on a truck that costs $45,000 new. That is not maintenance. That is a second down payment. Problem 3. Timing chain stretch on the 2.7. The 2.7 EcoBoost uses a timing chain with a tensioner that loses pressure over time. When the chain has slack, the timing shifts. When timing shifts, the engine runs rough and eventually destroys itself. Chain and tensioner replacement are between $2,000 and $3,500. The symptoms are subtle, a slight rattle on cold start that disappears in seconds. By the time it becomes constant, replacement is urgent. If you own a 2.7, start your truck cold tomorrow with the window down and the radio off. Listen for the first 5 seconds. If you hear metallic rattling that fades as the engine warms, book an appointment this week. Not next month, this week. Problem 4. The 10-speed transmission. The 10-speed co-developed with GM is one of the most complained about transmissions in the American truck market. Harsh shifts between 3rd and 4th. Hunting between gears on the highway. Shuddering at low speeds. The torque converter develops a vibration Ford has addressed with multiple technical service bulletins but never fully solved. Transmission fluid change between $300 and $500. Torque converter replacement between $1,800 and $2,800. Full rebuild between $400 and $7,500. Ford calls the hunting adaptive learning behavior. Independent mechanics call it a transmission with too many gears for its own good. Problem 5. Coolant intrusion. This is the problem that scares EcoBoost mechanics more than any other. Coolant leaking into the cylinders through a cracked exhaust manifold or failed head gasket. The EcoBoost runs hot. The aluminum block expands and contracts through thermal cycles aggressively. Over time, the head gasket or exhaust manifold develops microcracks that allow coolant to seep into the combustion chamber. The symptoms are almost invisible. Slightly sweet smell from the exhaust. Coolant level dropping slowly with no visible leak. White residue on the oil cap. Exhaust manifold replacement between $2,500 and $4,000. Head gasket between $3,000 and $5,000 if the coolant has been mixing with oil long enough to damage bearings. Engine replacement at $8,000 to $12,000. I pull the oil cap and check the coolant level on every EcoBoost that enters my shop, regardless of what the customer came in for. 60 seconds that has saved 3 customers this year from catastrophic engine failure. Stop. 5 problems every EcoBoost F-150 owner needs to know about. The next 6 accumulate silently over years. The slow bleed that turns a $50,000 truck into a money pit. And problem 11 is the one that made me question my Ford tattoo. Hit like and let us continue. Problem 6. Oil pan gasket leaks. The aluminum oil pan develops a leak at the gasket surface between 60 and 100,000 miles. So common that aftermarket manufacturers sell upgraded gaskets specifically for this failure. The leak starts small. Most owners ignore it. The oil level drops slowly. The turbo starts starving. Engine wear accelerates invisibly. Oil pan gasket replacement between $600 and $1,000. A repair that should cost $100 in gasket material costs 10 times that in labor because of how the engine is packaged. Problem 7. Spark plug ejection and seizure. High cylinder pressures mean plugs can seize in the aluminum head if left beyond the change interval. Removing a seized plug can strip the threads. Helicoil insert at $500 to $800 per cylinder. Change spark plugs at 60,000 miles, not 75. At 60,000, use anti-seize compound on the threads. This is the cheapest insurance you can buy against a $1,500 thread repair. Problem 8. Vacuum pump failures. The EcoBoost uses an engine-driven vacuum pump for brake assist. When it fails, the brake pedal gets hard. Stopping distances increase dramatically. Replacement between $700 and $1,200. The failure is sudden. You press the brake and it barely responds. In traffic, this is not an inconvenience. It is a safety emergency. Problem 9. Purge valve and evap system issues. The evaporative emission system generates check engine lights with frustrating regularity. The purge valve sticks. Diagnostic visits cost $150 to $300 each, even when the fix is a $40 valve. Over the life of the truck, the cumulative cost of EVAP-related diagnostics and repairs can exceed $1,500. Problem 10. Water pump failures. The EcoBoost uses an internal water pump driven by the timing chain. When it fails, coolant can leak internally into the engine oil. The repair requires removing the timing cover between $2,500 and $4,000. An external water pump costs $300 to replace. Ford's decision to internalize it saves them manufacturing cost and transfers the repair cost to you. Problem 11. The cost of being EcoBoost. The problem that made me question my tattoo. Over 100,000 miles, the average EcoBoost owner spends approximately $3,500 to $5,000 more in maintenance and repairs than the equivalent 5.0 Coyote V8 owner. The EcoBoost saves approximately $400 a year in fuel. In 10 years, the EcoBoost saves $4,000 in fuel and costs $5,000 more in upkeep. Net loss, $1,000. Ford spent $1 billion marketing EcoBoost as the smarter choice. The maths say it is the more expensive choice. The 5.0 Coyote V8 is naturally aspirated, no turbos. It has both direct and port injection, which keeps the valves clean. No internal water pump. It costs less to own over every measurable time horizon. Ford will never tell you that. 11 problems. Carbon that chokes the engine. Turbos that fail in pairs. Chains that stretch. A transmission that cannot count to 10. Coolant that sneaks into the cylinders. Oil pans that leak by design. Spark plugs that seize. Vacuum pumps that kill your brakes. EVAP systems that print check engine lights. Water pumps buried inside the engine, and a total cost of ownership higher than the engine it was supposed to replace. The F-150 EcoBoost is not a bad truck, but it will never run as cheaply as the 5.0, and Ford will never tell you that. If you own an EcoBoost right now, do 3 things this week. Check your coolant level, listen for the cold start rattle, and look under the truck for oil spots. Those 3 checks take 5 minutes and could save you $12,000. Subscribe and share this video with every F-150 owner you know, because the truck America trusts most deserves an owner who knows the truth about what is under the hood.